I'm Ksenia. I'm working in our vision as an analyst, and to speak simply, I help develop the Sense technological platform. We are going to talk about our vision products to which I do not relate. I did not get involved in the development, but you may familiarize with it at the booth. There will be no marketing part in my presentation, so those of you who wanted that, go elsewhere. Anyway, why did I decide to go for this topic? For me, as an analyst, pains of an ordinary security guy became apparent. So I decided to tackle that pain because the insiders have always been with us. They will stay with us, but it's not been quite possible to eradicate them that efficiently so far. What are the violators? Let's just check them out. Let's just check the insiders as sources, as one of major sources of such leakages. Let's just take a look at the investigation, and then later, in the end, I will speak about deception and the conclusions. Everybody knows about hackers attacking us. Uh, so we start learning, and we find the tactics, and when we try to exchange the data. But the more we fight violators inside, it's the people who work with us who would like to protect. So the first thing that I would like to talk about is one of the recent leakages. So who was responsible for that? He was responsible for that. So on March the 1st, Yandex Еда published this notification about the leak of the customer data. So they were real unhappy. The external violator was revealed. So there are plenty of violations. There have been many of them, and previously there had been many of them. So there are such leaks, and they always will be there. So I would like to ask you a question. Why so? So if we take a look at the data on April the 21st, the Moskvarechye court fined Yandex for 50,000 rubles for violating the personal data law. So we can live with it, really. So if we take into account the statistics, one of the reports of the vendors, approximately 80% are internal violators. So those hackers who have been attacking us are not the ones as internal violators. So somebody says, no, this cannot be, so we just need to sell DLP solutions. So that's what they did. So I decided to run my own study. The numbers are very similar. The question sounded really similar. So the Russian mentality says that everything people would like to take and people would like to own is just like the stands that you are passing by with some pens or with notepads. I don't really know why people need them, but they grab them. So they bring everything home. So there is some information that I would like to store. So maybe I would like to use it at my next job, so it may be very useful. So if you really would like to participate there, if you would like to say that I'm wrong, please follow that link, and I'll be delighted to read your replies. Anyway, so let's just check what the real data says. I was just digressing a little bit, so I was trying to get into the reports of one of the banks. It's a giant bank, Sberbank, and approximately 200 people. There is just one incident a year occurring. So that's not the study, that's the incident which has been confirmed. And I'd asked my colleagues, and the practice showed that there is such practice. So what does the legislation say? If the person really disclosed the data, if it's just some kind of secret, maybe it's commercial data, professional data, the contract may be rescinded based upon Article 81 Labor Code of the Russian Federation. But unfortunately, it's not that simple these days. In order to fire an individual, you should have valid reasons, weighty reasons. So they just need to disclose something really serious. If you see that this person say, here is that salary of mine, and you would say, how come you're saying that? It's a commercial secret. So it seems like that the salary is not the commercial secret. Otherwise, we'd be disclosing this commercial secret each time we get a visa. So there is no disclosure of the commercial secret at all, sharing your salary. And also the person should sign an NDA. They should understand clearly that this company has data that cannot be disclosed, and they need to put a signature there. So if it's not done like that, people just didn't know, and they just need to prove that they had disclosed that. And if you cannot prove that, this person has nothing to do with that. So there was a leakage. So what do we do with that? The first thing we do is the actual disclosure. So we have a way to find that there was a kind of a leakage of such data. So an order is issued about the checkup, about the incident's checkup, not about the person's checkup, because if we cannot collect the evidence, if we cannot give real value from that, we would be too late. And after that, a commission is set up, made up of 3 people: an HR, an expert, and the security expert. They collect explanations, written explanation. There should be a written explanation provided, not from the guilty one, but also those ones that can be useful there. Then a certain decision is made. So if this person has committed a petty crime, like stole a pen or a pencil, it's okay. But the severity, the aggravation should be solid enough for further steps to conduct. And then the CEO gets this report on his desk. They'd see what is happening, what is going on, and they can have a disciplinary measures. I think you understand that this process is very complicated, and if we missed something, if we did not collect something, it may happen that this person will prove his innocence, and all the work that you had been doing for months would be done for nothing. So how come deception kicks in? We're talking about insiders, or we're talking about how to protect from the internal violator. So for those of you who are not aware of such a class of a solution, deception is based upon these deceit concept. We have attractions and traps. Attractions are the ones possessed at servers, and if a hacker finds this and just need to check it, and out of their curiosity, they get in a trap. So, for example, there would be a lucrative server they thought would be lucrative, and while they are getting there, we are winning time. So we can see where they are and how they move across our infrastructure. So we may track down our actions, so we understand how to combat that. And while he's in our web, we will be winning some time. Deception is not suitable for everybody. So if you have a flat network, if nobody knows about role policy, implementation of the deception may be a little bit too early. But you may as well tackle that and tackle security. If you can catch external violators with deception, why not catch an internal deceptor, internal violator? For our inner personnel, the violators who can download customers' data and share them illicitly. So we understand that there is a mole in our company, so there'll be a great disadvantage, and this may be not realistic. This person may take very important information. They may take something virtual, like I was showing in the Yandex slide, the orders of Lenin. So the DLP problem is about that we react to this delay, and we take that the data has been taken away. And if we take a look at it a little bit earlier, we can prevent it. So let's just make conclusions. We have an insider threat, which is a fact, and the legislation does not make us eradicate that. It's easier just to pay a fine, 100,000, rather than spend millions on protection. And the investigation is a very long process. If we get this process automated, a lot of people will breathe much more easily. They will understand, I mean, the people in the security, how to work and which templates to use. And one final thing, that the traps with the deception technology help us identify violators inside the company and protect our data and prevent the data from stealing. Thank you very much. I can see you have questions. Thank you very much for your presentation. Very interesting. I have two questions. First of all, what's the principle used by which the data goes to the trap? And maybe you just put something too attractive in the trap as an attraction. Super mega know-how, as I call it. How to select this data for a byte properly. An interesting question. Thank you very much. Yes, most of the people can get provoked, but then you realize that the person didn't really want to do anything bad. Most of the people would take this data, but they don't really want to put the data to danger. Maybe they will not even want to use it. You may want just to highlight this threat, and afterwards we just need to verify that this person has been caught red-handed, and by his reactions, you can understand potentially that this person wanted to take everything. It's just two questions, right? Okay, and you answered the second question as well. Thank you, Ksenia. Thank you very much for your presentation. And I have a question about the internal violator who had already left the company. They signed an NDA. But this person who left the company, in his resume, in his CV, says that I had been implementing such and such things in the company. So what are you going to do about it? Yes, I was actually thinking. A simple example: when I was at school, one of the teachers was an expert in the government exams, and she had all of the knowledge in the head, not on paper. She would just memorize all this knowledge to instruct us for the government exams. It's kind of difficult to eradicate such things. You cannot actually make people not memorize this if they study NDAs. They may memorize some parts. And the second question, which is a little bit more ethical, it's the same NDA. You just sign an agreement between companies that there is data transmission through certain means, and this company, the integrator, is sending the data. How can we resolve this, and how much time do you think it will take to change the ethics of people about not disclosing certain data? About non-disclosure of NDA, yesterday there was a presentation in the safe development section, and they say people have no NDA in Russia, and you may disclose whatever you like. Nobody will punish you for that. Jokes aside, there's a bit of truth in it. I think it's true, and people in security are turning into witches with brooms. Hey, we're going to punish you, but in actual fact, they're not going to do anything. So it's just like some person stole some information, shared it with others, and he was just briefly reprimanded, and that's it. So if there are no punishment cases, people will not actually treat that aspect seriously. I have a few questions. I would like to thank you for your presentation. 80% is taken away by the employees, but 80% of people altogether. But maybe there are some random ones, but there are someone who get paid for that. Somebody pays him $100, and they disclose this information. They have been tipped and greased for that. Yes, it's interesting to understand their motives and drives, what drives people to do that. But I actually heard a very interesting question in one of the conferences. So if a person joined the company, what are you going to do for a certain amount of money? So somebody said, no, we're not going to do that. But some people asked, how much are they going to offer us? And you said that the person is threatened to be fired. So this person created a threat, and you fire a person who actually knows how to expose the system of yours. Will this pose a threat? So if we are going to point it out, there will be a rare example of firing. This 60,000 fine is there an increase of a fine? Are you considering increasing the fine? After all this story, We thought that it would be just limited with 60,000, but no, it's not. There was a criminal punishment initiated, and a court case started. So I think it's going to get aggravated and the situation will improve. So I would like to become a little bit more optimistic. So you can Google it. In Sberbank, they cannot know anything about Sberbank, and later there was a message written to German Gref about stealing that data. So it was 25 million rubles, the amount that this person owes to Sberbank, and he's still in prison. So I guess this person poses some danger. And 60,000, that's for Yandex. But those who would like to violate something really is going to pay 60 million. It's much more. It's a sizable amount, something like that. So it very much depends on the company. So if it's a serious company, it will demand. And if you cannot stipulate what this person knows, I was doing that, and that damaged you, you can hire a legal expert, even a student who can cope with that. Thank you. Very interesting presentation, but we are talking about morale, and it's very important in development of the software, especially when we talk about security. So there's a question about deception. Maybe we create this temptation for an employee to use the information. Maybe it looks like a provocation, so people do not prohibit to commit this. Why it's not restricted for commercial organizations? Maybe it's the wrong way. So previously there was a presentation which was related to sending letters to the individuals so that we can understand how they react to phishing. How come we not train individuals as well? So it's true, if we consider some phishing attempts, if you get such message, a lot of people would say, okay, how come there's no phishing and you're sending this to us? So this country, we have an option to choose. So maybe it looks not like training, it just looks like the training of a dog with treats, so that you train the dog not to eat the treats. Partially, yes. Partially, yes. Well, there may be some good hint about fire drills. You mentioned fire drills. We have fire drills, so it may be arranged in a similar way. So you get called out of work, you get called out into the street during the course of a fire drill. Looks strange. You could have worked, and then they start demonstrating the first aid on a mannequin, on a dummy. Looks strange but necessary. So sometimes you need to select, you need to choose what you would like to do. So you would like to teach a person to do something using your mistake, or maybe this kind of training is very important. although sometimes it looks like a waste of time. Yes, thank you very much.